Verdict. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett here, joining you this Sunday morning and part of the week thereafter with a brand new guest, a guy that has been on the show 6 times already, or I guess this is his 6th appearance, Mick. We're going to have the Honorable Joe Harroz, President of the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah, in a sense, this is the guy everybody wants to hear from, right? I mean, there's a lot that's going to happen over the next few weeks that affects this state and this country. And one of the guys that has to help make some of those really important decisions is with us today, the president of the University of Oklahoma.
And we're going to hear from him just right after this commercial break. So stay with us, folks. Joe Harroz will be up next. You're watching The Verdict.
During my time as Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior, I witnessed a fundamental transformation in the government-to-government relationship between tribes and the United States. It has really been a special time when a lot of past disputes have been addressed. What I hope is that history has turned a corner with Indian tribes. My name's Kevin Washburn, and I'm a professor of law at the University of New Mexico School of Law, and I'm a Chickasaw. I always joke that I don't know why anybody's a tax lawyer, but I know why I'm an Indian law lawyer. The joy of my life is teaching students. It really is a lot of fun teaching young people, sending them out in the world to help take care of their communities. And that's what we try to do. And federal Indian law is a powerful force for that because the law often is on the tribe's side. My Chickasaw lineage comes from my mother's side of the family. She was a very strong, powerful woman. I know she had some rough times, but there's such a tremendous sense of pride now because we have really come a long way since those times. The Chickasaw Nation has always been about helping people to help themselves and help ensure that the community remains strong. And today, it's Chickasaws taking care of Chickasaws. I don't look like a Native American necessarily, but I am a full citizen of the Chickasaw Nation, and I'm very proud of that. The unconquered and unconquerable Chickasaw Nation is part of my bloodstream.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
One of the best kept secrets about the post 9/11 GI Bill benefit is that it can be used at a trade school or a technical school, and it doesn't have to be used at a university or college. These are benefits that the veterans have earned through their service, and they should take advantage of it.
Veterans really need to understand that there are many resources offered by the Oklahoma Department of Veteran Affairs. They are there to help you find the right school for you, the school that will help you and your family make great steps into your future.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett with our special guest today. I guess all of our guests are special, but this one is special to me because of our prior relationship. Joe Harroz, the 15th president of the University of Oklahoma. Joe did his undergraduate work at the University of Oklahoma, where he was Phi Beta Kappa. He did his law work at Georgetown. He came back to the university after being in Washington for a short time or a couple of years with Senator Boren. He's had 12 years as general counsel of the University of Oklahoma. He was law school dean for 9 years, and just this year was named, the change was made from him being interim president of the University of Oklahoma to him being the president of the University of Oklahoma. Joe, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, Joe, you've had a lot of changes in your personal life, in a sense, in that you've taken on this job on a permanent basis, or as permanent as a university president can be. And this has been a really awkward time of change, and you know, it's not a really fun time to be in leadership. And here you are, in a sense, the new kid on the block and having to steer the ship. What's that been like personally?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's obviously the pandemic, the state of race relations, really the changing nature of higher education that preceded all of that. I mean, it makes for, as you indicated, Mayor, a really unusual dynamic. But at the end of the day, you know, you've done it. Kent does it. Being in a leadership position means that you sign up to deal with change. We certainly have a lot of it, and I look at it as something that's challenging. Everyone's challenged by these times, and the opportunity to be helpful during this time in this role to me is real positive. So I guess I'm just an optimist, and I look at it as something that hopefully, if I have something to add, it's an environment where I can add in a more pronounced way.
Joe, what about, let me ask a little personal question here. What about the Harroz household? I hope you've been safe and things are fine there and not too much upset by this pandemic.
No, it's amazing. You know, there is obviously so much devastation to, you know, to COVID-19, and the toll is stunning. There are bright spots, and those bright spots are you work from home a great deal, even though the volume of work is huge. I have a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So we've done online school together. We've had, you know, 3 meals a day together and spent a lot of time together. And so in a lot of ways, you look for blessings that are inside of tragedy, and that's certainly one of them.
Well, you know, Joe, in a crisis management plan, you always sit around thinking of all the things that could happen that could drastically affect operations. Anywhere rolled up in the back of your desk, was there some plan for a big outbreak of a virus that might send the kids home during spring break and not bring them back?
You know, I've been around for a long time, Mayor, and I've been a part of a lot of playbooks. This isn't one of them. and that's really what, you know, in obviously, you know, having dealt with crises and emergencies many times in your career, this one is just so unusual in that there is not a playbook. And so whether it's a tornado or some other natural disaster that takes place, or some other issue that arises, there are playbooks that, you know, given the seasoning that we have, that we've been through, that you can draw upon. And clearly, as you intimate, the big challenge here is that the scenarios that you often already have game planned out for a crisis just simply haven't existed for this one. And so that's been the overlay. I can tell you I've used this simple phrase at the end of a lot of days, which is not very eloquent, which is my brain hurts. Not really a medical term of art, but it really is this unique challenge to see a crisis for which there is no playbook. And it's been a credit to having a health sciences center, and the individuals that are there working with the mayor, working with the governor, working with key legislative leaders, working with the faculty senate and the staff, you know, doing that and crafting solutions and protocols when none previously existed has been, I think, the hallmark and the distinguishing characteristic of this particular crisis.
Joe, I want to congratulate the hiring folks at the University of Oklahoma, because I read just very recently that Gary Cox has come on to your staff in a role that will have something to do with pandemic operations. Congratulations on getting a very fine human being and a very competent administrator. Can you describe his duties a little bit for us?
Yeah, so his role will be the Associate Dean at the College of Public Health, and we've seen how important the College of Public Health is during this pandemic. It's one of the things that makes us special, and Mayor Cornett can certainly speak to this, but having a health science center in Oklahoma City with 7 different colleges spanning, which is unusual. There are only about 5 or 6 or 7 universities and certainly states in the country that have this. And having a College of Public Health is an important component of that. We've seen the role they've played in this pandemic, and the position Dr. Cox is going into is one as Associate Dean that's important for it today and also for tomorrow.
So now looking ahead to this fall, is the plan still evolving, or do you have a plan that could be supplemented or changed tomorrow? How do you roll out the fall semester?
Yeah, we're doing it in phases. So there is the aggregate picture, which is we're going to have an in-person student experience. Now, the Health Science Center is, as you know, there's no summer break. So the Health Sciences Center and those 7 colleges are moving forward. They're active today. Norman campus, we called off in-person classes. Interestingly, our summer enrollment online for overall student enrollment both is up 10%, which is unique and not anticipated. But as far as the Norman campus goes, we're planning on in-person in the fall. Doing it is dynamic. Bringing back employees is dynamic. And so we have July 6th, we're bringing in phase 2 of employees coming back. August 3rd is phase 3 to allow for students coming back fully. Our dorms are over 95% full right now. And we're rolling into those operations. It is ever evolving, but some things we do know. We have a position that we didn't ever contemplate, which is a chief COVID officer, Dr. Dale Bratzler, who's both with the Hudson College of Public Health and also with the OU Physicians Group. He has dual degrees, is our chief COVID officer. We put in place things that allow us to be together, albeit with modifications given the environment. And there are a lot of details around these that I'm happy to go through. But it involves these elements, and that is to be constantly monitoring. We announced last week the universal masking policy on campus, which is essential for us being in person because universities are about concentrations of people in physical proximity. We have a really enhanced set of cleaning protocols under the heading of Clean and Green. Lots of money poured into this, time and energy, including purchasing 2,300 special air cleaners for our dorm rooms for our students that actually generate hydrogen peroxide. We then have an entire plan around how we teach in the classroom called the Safe and Resilient Classroom. Bigger classrooms, more time between classes, and any classes of 40 students or less in person, those over 40 students online, but many with an in-person small section. So it really is a matter of how do you make it safe, how do you bring people together, and how do you allow for this in-person instruction? Now, a number of campuses have already said that they won't be back in person.
No, pardon me. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We can come back to what a number of campuses has done. We've got to take a break right now. You're watching Verdict with President Joe Harroz and Mick Cornett. We'll be right back.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank number 2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to a fun show for us, for Mick and me particularly, because we have an old friend, Joe Harroz, the brand new president of the University of Oklahoma, with us as our guest. And Joe, I think we had to interrupt you in the mid-answer about, as I recall, you were getting ready to say what other universities do.
Well, I think it's always good to cut me off. I could have gone on forever. No, I think I rounded out the thinking. The reality is this is a day-by-day matter. So we have all of these plans. We plan to be in person, and we'll certainly watch it day by day.
Okay.
Joe, what about athletics?
Yeah, everything should just be fine, Mayor. I see no problems. It is so complicated. So we are planning on having a full schedule. But what makes football even more complicated than coming back to school is that we don't control all of the decisions around it. And so when you think about the layering of decision makers, it's NCAA, it's Big 12 conference, obviously governor and mayors, and then it's the schools that you're playing against. And that's even before you get to what capacity can you have in the stadium. I am surprised, although I probably shouldn't be, that a lot of the decision makers in this are taking longer than we would like. I can tell you our plan is to have the games. Our plan is to have spectators. The question is, how many can you safely have? Well, just common sense tells us we're going to have masking. We've all seen football games from the 1918 pandemic. They all are wearing masks. So a lot of open questions, too many open questions. All we can state right now is our intent. And certainly as players are coming back right now, our protocols to keep them safe.
Let me ask you, Joe, about the process of becoming the president of the University of Oklahoma. You were interim president for about a year, I think, and then designated president. Talk about that process, both the interim part and the final part.
Yeah, it's taken me almost 25 years to get this job at OU, which I blame in large degree to my mentor, Meyers, and the training he provided me whenever I first came to work for you. It is something that I've loved the jobs I've had. They invited me. Obviously, we had Bourne stepping down, and then we had Jim Galloway coming in. There was a lot of turnover and, quite frankly, a lot of drama that was attaching to the university at that time. And as has now been said, I was offered the permanent position initially, and my request was to do it on an interim basis because my thought was what we needed was calm and a period of transition, and that if at a later date there was a desire to bring me in as permanent, that'd be good. But honestly, you always want to do what's best for the enterprise. And at that time, I thought what was best was to have a period of calm where an interim came in.
Joe, what's your opinion on online learning and as it applies to the university setting?
Yeah, online is really, I look at campuses in two ways. I think great universities are going to have an online presence and then an in-person presence. Almost think of it as an online campus and an in-person campus. Obviously, we've had in-person campuses for a very long time. The online campuses are evolving, and online campuses done well provide an education to a specific group that either can't or doesn't need to be in person, whereas the in-person does. What we saw happen after the spring break really was a jumping to online as a way to deal with the pandemic. And that isn't the kind of online that we deliver in OU online, which is that discrete campus. And so I think there's online out of necessity, and then there's online done in a thoughtful, clear way. And I've taught in both areas and actually built programs in both areas. I've taught in person for some 22 years. As dean of the law school, we launched an online set of programs out of the College of Law that went from very small to third largest in the country. And I've taught in those programs. So when we think about online learning, Mayor, I think you have to think about it in a very focused way, and those two distributions, the in-person and the online, being discrete, being very focused on how you provide those. And what we saw happening this spring after spring break is not the ideal kind of online that we plan to deliver or that we should deliver.
Joe, what has been the faculty recruitment effort during this time period? Is it much harder now to engage in effective faculty recruitment, or about the same?
Yeah, we'd actually, so the short answer is it's more complicated. And it's for this reason. Like almost every university, as soon as the pandemic hit, we had dozens of faculty searches in place. And the fiscally responsible thing to do was to shut those searches down. And because of the uncertainty of what was going to come next. And so we were growing the faculty through searches over the course of this summer and this coming fall semester. We shut those down as an austerity measure. We are, as we gain greater certainty over the financial status, we will ramp those back up as is prudent. But at the time we needed to shut those down, just being financially wise.
Joe, what can parents do? What can the citizens of Oklahoma do? What can alumni do to help you and to help the university in this time of crisis?
Yeah, I think a few things, and thanks for the question. I think one is to reflect on the role of and the benefit of a comprehensive research university. We are right now, we have teams working on a vaccine. We have the entire range of healthcare professionals and the research that's being done driving that. And we have that crossing all three campuses. So one, reflect on the importance in investing in and having a great comprehensive research university. The next is, as we think about it, let's work together and protect not just ourselves, but those around us. We know that masking is important, not just for the individual, but more importantly, for those that could be negatively affected and impacted. And finally, for alumni, it's to hopefully redouble efforts to invest in our future. And that is both the future students that graduate that help preserve us as a society, but also invest in the research mission. And finally, continue to make it affordable. Being a great university today means it has to be affordable to everyone that has the talent to do it. State budgets, another 3.95% cut in terms of funding for the university. That puts our Norman campus funding at just a smidge over 10% state funding. Back when I went to school, it was closer to 80 and 90%. It makes it unavailable to our best and brightest just because of income. So my message to all is comprehensive research universities matter. Our future matters. These universities are a critical part of that, and please invest in the mission and in our students.
One final question, Joe, before we have to go to a break. At the time right before you came in as president or as interim president, there was some concern about the financial situation at the University of Oklahoma. And can you tell us what is the state of the financial well-being of the university in about 1 minute?
You bet. The Health Science Center campus has been and remains extremely financially healthy, extremely. Norman campus, like a lot of research university undergraduate campuses, had gotten itself in a bind. During the year before last, we cut $50 million in operating costs out of Norman campus. This year, over the last 12 months, we've identified $31 million in cost savings. That's put us in a good financial standing. We're about to launch a strategic plan that will make that even more strong and viable for the future. So stable, heading towards very sound.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming. It's always good to see you, even if it's through a screen. Mick, Joe and I practiced law together, and Joe and I tried a case together, and it was Joe's first trial, which is the only reason we won.
You are a role model of mine and will always be, and I appreciate you as a mentor.
You're mighty kind to say that. Good luck to you. Thank you for giving us your time. Folks, you're watching The Verdict with Mick Cornett, and this week, President Joe Harroz. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ken.
You bet. See you, Joe.
Take care.
It used to be okay in teachers' lounges. It used to be okay in maternity wards. It was okay in sporting arenas, college campuses, and office spaces. But now that we understand the deadly dangers of secondhand smoke, that's not okay anymore. So why is it okay that thousands of employees are exposed to it every day at work? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's protect hardworking Oklahomans. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I think for us, once we got started and we began to see the tremendous need just within our state, it really was just a calling for us. The blessings far outweigh any obstacles that we've faced.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Meyers and Mick Cornett, closing the show with President Joe Harroz of the University of Oklahoma. Mick, always a good guest.
Absolutely. A lot of really important issues taking place, too.
Can you give the websites, if you would?
OU.edu is the way you can get more information about the University of Oklahoma and find your way to the president's website, and you can find out more about his biography.
And then we have a website.
Absolutely. It's called theverdict.tv. Log on and tell us about a guest you'd like to see or a subject you'd like to discuss. And Kent, this was show number 999.
Yes. I wonder if we'll get one more. If we don't close this one, we won't get one more.
Okay. See you later.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.